Thomas Morstead was a guest on the Rich Eisen show. And Rich kind of just unapologetically jumped right into the heart of the matter with Morstead about Drew Brees' comments and the impact that they had and have had on the Saints locker room. And it is odd, to say the least, that any team's punter would be a mouthpiece, right? That any team's punter would be a leader. And I don't mean to be disrespectful in that respect, but let's call it what it is, right? I mean, the punter is a guy that usually your job is, hey, man, run on the field, kick the ball, don't screw it up. Like, that's your job. A lot of times there's resentment of punters because they don't have to get hit, they don't have to do a lot of conditioning, and so on. Although Thomas Morstead is one of the most yoked guys on the Saints team, like athletically a freak. I digress. But Morstead's going into year 12 with the Saints, and he's earned that spot in that locker room. Do you remember post-Minneapolis Miracle? Morstead was one of the guys that came back out because you have to kick the PAT, right? So one of the guys that came back out of the locker room to do that, and as a result, Vikings fans ended up donating a bunch of money to Morstead's charity. He gave back to charities in Minnesota. Thomas Morstead's a great guy, is my point. And he's a guy that you would turn to in a situation like this to get his impressions of what happened. So Drew Brees made those comments on the Yahoo Finance interview that blew up. Now, several weeks removed, Thomas Morstead goes on the Rich Eisen show, and Eisen says, essentially, how is this impacting the locker room?
Well, look, I think it's pretty evident over the past number of years that us to have the type of seasons we've had, to have lost the way we've lost in the playoffs the past 3 years, and they always bounce back. We've got a tremendous amount of leadership in the locker room, and leadership consists of sometimes dealing in conflict with teammates. And in my time, there's been no leader greater than Drew Brees, but that doesn't mean only having a captain's patch means that you're the only leader on the team. We've got so many leaders on the team, and I think this is going to be a blessing in disguise, not only for Drew, not only for our team, but for our nation. I think Drew's a man of conviction, and he just had a change of perspective after everybody on the team, we got together, and a lot of guys let him know how exactly they felt, and maybe that hadn't been said as clearly before to him. And all I know is Drew's not going to apologize unless he absolutely means it. He is not going to do something because of pressure or because of his brand. He's going to do the right thing. That's all I've ever seen him do. And I just know that he's going to handle this the right way. And I'm really excited to see what type of moves our team makes collectively, not only in New Orleans, but across the country with all the different sports leagues.
I don't know if excited is the term a lot of people would have expected to hear from a Saints player post that turmoil. But that's the word that Thomas Morstead used. And he certainly sounds like a man of conviction, doesn't he? He certainly sounds like a man who believes what he's saying. And the reality is, there just aren't a lot of organizations. And I'm not just talking about sports. I mean any type of organization that could go through the type of turmoil that the Saints did over a 48-hour period and not be permanently fractured by it. It takes having a special group of leaders. And what it points to, honestly, is what Sean Payton and Mickey Loomis tried to build culturally in their locker room. If you remember back in 2006, when Sean Payton was hired, the first thing they did was completely gut the bad apples in that locker room. Entitled veterans like Wayne Gandy. Remember the story about Wayne Gandy having the recliner in the locker room next to his locker? They shipped Wayne Gandy out. Dante Stallworth, even though he was a former first-round pick, they shipped him out of town, brother, in a heartbeat. They wanted guys who were bought into what they were building. And they built a championship culture. And then post Bountygate, that got away from them. And how did they rebuild again? Brandon Cooks, oh, you're complaining about not getting the ball? Don't care that you're a former first-round pick. See ya. Jimmy Graham, some rumblings about, well, not rumblings. Of course, I mean, he went through a whole contract situation. Is he a tight end or is he a receiver? Trying to get more money. Shipped him out of town. Kenny Stills, productive receiver. Bye-bye. They were unapologetic about it. They shipped off good players that were bad character guys because they wanted to build a strong locker room culture. Why do you think Sean Payton went this offseason and brought Malcolm Jenkins back as a safety in his 30s who's far closer to the end of his career than he is the beginning? Because there's buy-in, and he's a captain, he's a leader, and there's respect. And you're seeing it, not just on the field, but socially as well. Guys gravitate to that. And the same is true, obviously, with Drew Brees, and you heard Thomas Morstead say it. And look, Rich Eisen also asked Morstead about the team meeting, the virtual meeting they had with, the day after Brees' comments and how that went down. I mean, listen to what Morstead said about characterizing that meeting.
It was extraordinarily vulnerable. It was difficult. It was emotional, and it was necessary. Everybody knows where everybody stands now. It's as clear a communication as was possible, and that's a really, really positive thing. Like I said before, I'm just really excited to see what actions take place following what happened. And I know Drew. I feel like I know him really well. I've been his teammate for 11 years, and I've seen the way he's dealt with adversity, and I've seen the way when he gets his muscle behind something, he's motivated, he's gonna make a move. And so hopefully collectively as a team we can all help move the needle. I know for myself personally, my eyes have been opened more than ever before in the past few weeks, and I'm a little ashamed I haven't done more or been more involved. And so I'm looking forward to being part of that as well.
Vulnerable, difficult, emotional, and necessary. Isn't that what we were all trying to achieve anyway? Isn't that the point? Let's have mindful, intelligent, honest conversations to air our feelings and see if we can move forward together. That's what the Saints did. And so if you're worried about how what happened might affect the team on the field, don't be, because from the sounds of it, from a guy that everybody respects, even though he's the punter, they've come through it even stronger together. Another reason to be really excited about what's going to happen on the field for the Saints in 2020. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.